So once again, Linkin Park are one of the most talked about subjects in rock and metal right now. So today I thought I'd rank all of their albums from worst to best. So obviously a few days ago Linkin Park uploaded a timer which was counting down from 100, and then when it actually counted down it glitched and then started going back up again, and that just confused the whole world even more until we got another little announcement saying September 5th. Something is coming, be part of something. At this point, it's been so long, I don't think any of us really expected Linkin Park to come back, but now they're doing something big, whether that's a new album, whether that's announcing a new vocalist, whether it's a massive world tour announcement, whatever this is, I'm pretty sure it's going to be massive news and hopefully received really positively by most fans, whatever that may be. I can understand why so many people don't want this band to get a new vocalist. Me personally, I'd love it if the band came back in some way. They've become one of my all-time favourite bands now, and I massively regret never seeing them live when I had the chance to see them with Chester. So if they did announce something like that, I'd be all for it. Saying that, I can't physically imagine anyone who could fill Chester's shoes. I've even considered maybe it's just Mike Shinoda announcing himself as the frontman of the band now, which he thought of is anyway. But I'm really excited to find out what this giant news is. We've not got long left to wait now, so fingers crossed it's something really cool. Anyway, let's get into this album ranking. So all of Linkin Park's albums, especially in their own way, you know, there's a reason that they're one of the biggest bands, but not all of their albums are perfect, and I'm pretty happy with this album ranking list. Hopefully we agree with it in some way. So starting at the bottom, the worst album, number 7, unfortunately there does have to be one, it's 1,000 Suns. This is my least favourite Linkin Park album. Now I've been listening to them recently just to make sure that I still have the same opinion that I did a couple of years ago, and yeah, it's not changed that much to be honest. 1,000 Suns is the least enjoyable Linkin Park album to me, and I think there's a few reasons for that. I'm not a big fan of the themes and the sound of a lot of the songs on this album. I don't find it all that enjoyable to listen to. I think there's some really slow parts, there's some really strange parts, and obviously that's nothing new to a Linkin Park album, but on this one, there just feels like there's a bit too much, and it's the least single populated album even, I'd say. Like the singles are some of the least memorable ones. So I think I've been pretty fair putting this one at the bottom of the list. Don't get me wrong, I like The Catalyst. Waiting for the End is definitely my favourite song on the album. Iridescent, another great song. I find this album the hardest to get through the whole way and without skipping anything. It feels like a lot of the tracks are just like little interludes and filler, which they are. Obviously, you know, Linkin Park were going through a phase back then when they released this one. This is their 4th album. They'd already released 3 incredible albums at this point in their career. I guess they wanted to try something new. It didn't hit as hard as the other 3 albums, but like I said, there's still some good songs on this album. It's absolutely my least favourite one. At number 6, I've got The Hunting Party. Another one that I do find hard to get through without skipping any of the songs, because there's some songs that I'm just really not a fan of. That being said, this album gets pretty heavy. There's a lot of Chester screaming on this album. There's a lot of anger. So if you like that, you're gonna love this one. Again, some really great songs on this album. The opening song, Keys to the Kingdom. Then you've got Wastelands, Final Masquerade, and one of my all-time favourite Linkin Park songs, Until It's Gone. I love this single. I think it's insanely catchy and just one of the best songs they've ever put out. But other than that, again, there's not that many ones on this one I remember. There's a few collaborations. Right now, I couldn't name a single collaboration on that album that I can think of off the top of my head, so this is another one that's not as talked about by fans, so I'm guessing I'm, again, not that far off the mark with putting this one quite low down on the list. And the other 5 albums, in my opinion, are certainly a lot better than this one. At number 5, I've got One More Light. Obviously, the final albums feature Chester Bennington. This album brings out a lot of emotions. It's a really sad album. A lot of these songs on this album just sound like a cry for help from Chester. You know, you've got the song One More Light, the massive single Heavy. Then you've got some of the more upbeat songs on the album, like Good Goodbye, Talking to Myself, Battle Symphony. There's some great songs on this album. I personally really like this one. I know this one is a lot of fans' least favourite album. Certainly before Chester died, a lot of people were ripping on this album because it wasn't so much a rock album. Certainly the least heavy Linkin Park album as well. But I love it for what it is. I love the vibe this one was going for. So really, I don't have a bad thing to say about this album. At number 4, I've got Living Things. Now this album features some very big, memorable songs. Specifically the one that most fans will know, Burn It Down. Great song, amazing sound, definitely one of my all-time favourite Linkin Park songs. Actually one of the first ones I ever heard. I didn't really know that much of them in the early 2000s when I was a kid, so this was actually one of my introduction songs to the band. Also on this album we've got Lost in Echo. Echo, Castle of Glass, Lies, Greed, Misery, another one of my favourite songs on the album. This is a good album. Again, while it's not one of the most talked about, memorable Linkin Park albums, you can't deny that it's got one of the biggest singles on it. We all love Burn It Down. I've not really got that much else to say about this one, so let's move on. Alright, we're on to my top 3. Not surprisingly at all, at number 3 we've got Minutes to Midnight. Obviously an incredible album. 2007 was such an era. Massive fan favourite songs on this album, from Giving Up, Leave Out All the Rest, Bleed It Out, Shadow of the Day, and the enormous single that everyone associates with Transformers, well, most people anyway, What I've Done. What a fucking great song, absolute banger. And Optimus Prime just stood at the edge of a cliff delivering another one of his iconic speeches to end the movie, straight into What I've Done. It's just one of the greatest movie endings of all time. It fits so perfectly. I loved how Michael Bay used Linkin Park songs on that first Transformers trilogy, but this without a doubt is the best one. Leave Out All the Rest was actually another one of the first songs I'd ever heard by this band. I remember listening to it in a park on a very crappy little phone, crappy phone speaker, no headphones, no speaker, just, you know, it was beautiful. Great little experience there, little nice bit of nostalgia. Alright, and the final 2 is the ones you've been waiting for. Now, this is really hard for me, and I put a lot of thought into this one, because I love these 2 albums almost entirely equally. It is really hard for me to pick between these 2 albums. I think that's the same for a lot of fans, to be honest. I don't really know what actually is the most popular Linkin Park album, but if I was to take a guess, it's the one that I'm going with. In my opinion, there's slightly more catchy songs on this album than there is on the other albums. So obviously we're going to start with the album that I enjoy just a tiny bit less, if that's even possible. Again, it is really hard for me to pick, but if I had to pick, and I do have to pick because this is a ranking list and it's my ranking list, coming in at number 2, it's Hybrid Theory. So I don't even need to talk about how absolutely iconic this album is, how important this album is, how much of an impact this album has made on music, on alternative rock, nu metal music over the last 25 years almost now. It's insane. It is probably one of the best albums in existence, with some of the best catchy singles ever written. Even if for some reason you've never heard of the band Linkin Park, I guarantee you've heard at least one song from this album. This album obviously features the enormous singles In the End, Crawling, One Step Closer, Paper Cuts, Points of Authority, A Place for My Head. They're not singles, but they're great songs. I'm one of those, you know, real generic people that I'll say In the End is one of my favourite Linkin Park songs, because it absolutely is. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. I love this song. It is definitely one of the songs that I play the most by the band. I'm a sucker for anthems, for singles, for catchy as hell, easy listening songs, and In the End just delivers that. So does Crawling, so does One Step Closer, so does Paper Cuts. Paper Cuts is incredible. It's no surprise the amount of success and fans that they gained from this album. Hybrid Theory absolutely slaps, but there's one more album that I love just a tiny bit more than this one, and that album is Meteora. Meteora is officially my favourite Linkin Park album. This is the second album by the band, and again, it features some of their biggest singles ever released. It's one of the biggest metal, nu metal, rock singles of all time, Numb. Numb is an incredible song. There's just something so powerful about the first few seconds of music in this song. As soon as you hear that intro, you instantly know what's coming. This song really is special, but it's not the only reason that I love this album so much. You've also got some massive other singles on this album. A personal favourite of mine, From the Inside, Breaking the Habit, Somewhere I Belong, Feign, another one that everyone knows, Don't Stay, Easier to Run. This album is an absolutely perfect nu metal album. It's an absolutely perfect rock album. I'm not at all doubting this one's placement. This one deserves the top spot for Linkin Park albums. Linkin Park have been a massive influence on me, on my life, my music taste. They've helped me discover so many other bands. And while I never saw them live with Chester, they mean a hell of a lot to me. And if that brand new announcement is that they're coming back in some form, with a new vocalist, with Mike Shinoda as the frontman, I'll be happy with that. Just a chance to hear more Linkin Park, to carry on, you know, enjoying this band's legacy. So I have no doubt that whatever this announcement is, it's going to be enormous news for fans all over the world. Probably end up making a video about that as well, so, you know, stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching this one, guys. If you're brand new here, you've never seen my channel before, then I make a bunch of music, festival, concert-related content on here. I do album rankings, concert vlogs, festival vlogs, music talk videos. If you're into any of that stuff, then the subscribe button is somewhere around here. I would really appreciate if you clicked it. And, you know, same being said for giving this one a like if you enjoyed it. I hate doing this. I hate asking. I think it's quite old-fashioned on YouTube now, but I just feel like I have to remind people sometimes that it does really help me out. It helps my engagement, helps me know that people are actually enjoying the content I'm making, so I can make more of it. That's all I've got to say for today. Let's hope this Linkin Park announcement really does live up to the hype, and it's as big as we're all hoping. And I'll see you soon for more music-related content.